Give a review of Jonathan Haidt's book, Righteous Minds. What's the basic argument? Well, the basic argument is that we have five moral basic intuitions that come from evolution. One of them is care, like caring for the young. The other is fairness, to see that our dealings, we're dealing in a fair way. A third one is loyalty, loyalty to the tribe, loyalty to the group that we're in. A fourth one is authority. Authority is being deferential to figures of authority, accepting their authority. And the fifth virtue is sanctity, feelings that some things are holy, the body is not a plaything, modesty, chastity, etc. Interestingly, though we were born with all five, Haidt claims that liberals have only two of them, which is care and fairness, while conservatives and traditionalists have all five. Kind of makes fun of liberals that they go to a restaurant and eat only two tastes, like salt and sugar, and they don't have the whole palate. Right off the bat, we have like a strange paradox here. If everything was really evolutionarily hardwired into us, how come liberals have only two and traditionalists and conservatives have the whole five? I would answer is that it's not evolutionary hardwired. But before I go into that, let's notice first of all why liberals have only two. Liberals have two because they viewed it as an advance of having the whole five. For example, while many might be disgusted from menstruation, we don't seclude women because of that. Or liberals are proud that they overcame or no longer feel any disgust related to homosexual sex. Haidt gives all these neat examples of a man coming home with a chicken that he brought in the supermarket, has sex with the chicken, and then eats it. And, a liberal elite says essentially he hurt no one, that's his right, and it's fine. And traditionalists feel that it's morally reprehensible and the man needs to be punished. I would argue that limiting the moral intuitions that people have and ascertaining a couple of basic principles, maybe Kant's principle of the categorical imperative of doing things that can be universalized, might be a good idea, or even utilitarianism, which argues that you should look at who gets what and who gets hurt from the action, might be good ideas rather than having these five condemning moral senses that put a lot of humanity at a base level. Okay, so that's one critique. It can't be really hardwired if liberals have two and the rest of us have five. I want to say something about the strategy that goes on in such papers, in such procedures. I think one can call it naturalization. Haidt takes essentially the situation that he finds himself in, a situation in which you have these five, traditionalists have these five moral intuitions and liberals have two. And then from that he draws to the fact that these moral intuitions are evolutionarily hardwired or part of who we are, or at least a rough draft of our moral sentiments. This kind of moving from the outside, taking what exists right now and turning it into something natural is essentially a fallacy. For example, Haidt doesn't take hunter-gatherers, maybe they had different moral sentiments, and he doesn't take societies like communist societies or Nazi societies or future societies that might invent new values. Even in the 19th century, we had new inventions of moral intuitions. For example, authenticity, being authentic. That's a new kind of moral intuition that developed at that time. So I'd have to say that for many reasons, I think people are able to overcome or create moral sentiments that are not in any way natural. And even if some moral natural sentiments exist, they're quickly overridden by the way we talk about them and the way we articulate them. Again, a good example is the way that liberals are now very proud of tolerance and acceptance of homosexual activity, where 50 years ago they were not. So, but you can give also negative examples. For example, Nazis were proud of the way they overcame natural revulsion about killing people. So essentially, culture and discourse and the groups that we're in have the ability to override with ideology, with discourse, with the way that we speak to ourselves and the affirmations of others around us, have the ability to override whatever natural, so-called natural moral sentiments we have, even if they exist. I don't know if they exist. And future cultures might invent new kinds of values and new kinds of moral intuitions to which we don't know them yet. So what does Haidt want? One thing that I'll give to Haidt, he stressed in his book very much the fact that reasoning is motivated, that we don't reason for nothing, that we usually have an intuition and then we reason in order to justify this intuition. And I think we can observe this with Haidt himself. Haidt has a conservative intuition. He wants liberals to appreciate traditional values like loyalty to the nation, sanctity, modesty, and deference to authority. That's his moral intuitions. The research and the justification, that only comes later.